Hello FlossTube, welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time, to Cheekymare Stitches. I'm Cheekymare, or Libby, whichever you prefer. It is January 3rd, 2021, and the main purpose of this video today is for my end-of-year WIP parade. I'm going to discuss my plans for 2021, and I am going to show you 3 finishes. One FO, which is a finished object, and 2 fully finished objects. And there will be a giveaway at the end of this video, so if you'd like to qualify to be part of the giveaway, then stick it out to the end. Okay. All right, so let's start with finishes first, because we want to get that out of the way so we can look at the WIPs. Okay, all right, so the first finish I'm going to show you today is actually a previous finish, and it is Pretty Little Seattle. And I finished this last year for my mom for Christmas, and it's by Satsuma Street, I believe. Yes, Satsuma. Pretty Little Seattle, and there's going to be a theme for this. You're going to see a bunch of these. Because they're fun. But my mom was born and raised in Seattle, Washington, and she's a hard one to shop for Christmas. So I thought, oh, look, this will work. And the Petty Point fabric is supposed to look like rain. It kind of looks like snow. It's all right. It's pretty enough. And I'm going to redo the framing because it looks a little bit grungy. But this was one of my first fully finishes, so, you have to get better at it. My second fully finish, is Pretty Little Washington, D.C., also by Satsuma Street, which is an Etsy shop. It is on 28 count Jobelin, and it is... I framed it from a frame from Hobby Lobby. And this was for my brother for Christmas. He spent a semester in Washington, D.C. When he was in college, and he loved it. And so I thought he might enjoy this. And I did change the pattern a little bit by adding some French knots in the foreground, which super hard / fun. So anyway, and then the third finish, or the FO, is my quilt behind me, and it's just a wall hanging size, and we can discuss that when I've got the B-roll later on in the video. All right, so this is my first finish of 2021. It is not a fully finished quilt, but I want to do more finishes than starts. And by more finishes than starts, meaning no starts this year. This is probably the 5th quilt top that I've made. So it's been a UFO for a while. But it is, I used a panel where all the flowers are, and then I did a rail fence, which is the pretty colors, and then I am fusible appliquing the kind of like wind blown flowers. And so now I'm going to take it to my long armor, and I'm gonna rent some time and do a bunch of free motion quilting. So you will see this again when I'm done with it. But my idea is to do some like straight line quilting in the rail fence, and do some kind of whimsical cascading feather or something in the panel / flowery portion. But it is it is a large wall hanging size, it is, so it will be, I'm going to take it to work and put it in my cube because my cube is depressing and this is not. It is super, super pretty. So thanks for watching and back to regularly scheduled programming. So now let's do the WIP parade, which is why everyone's here probably. The first WIP is called Odin's Ravens. I'm not sure who it's by. It will be in the description box below. This is what it'll look like when it's finished. Here it is now that I've done. I'm doing it 2/2 on a mystery linen, I forget. And with the called for flosses, except I am doing this color variation that's shown in this picture. So the pattern has these in grays, and I wanted it to be more Ravenclaw, like book Ravenclaw. So I have done these in browns and bronzes. So I'm going to do a different, I'm not going to do the lettering down there. I'm going to use a different quote. But that's where I am so far. So, and here is the stitching. 2/2. Super pretty. And this is one that is probably my closest to a finish WIP. So this is one I'm going to try and finish this year, which may or may not happen. I'm pretty bad about finishing things, but my goal this year for 2020 is, or 2021, is to have more finishes than WIPs, and that's throughout all my crafts. So quilting, needlepoint, and cross stitch. So wish me luck. My next WIP is called Unicorn Tapestry by Tiny Modernist. This is what it'll look like when it's done, except I'm doing a color conversion. And this is where it is now for me. It's a very tiny start, but I started it in the flag areas right here. And I'm using my own color conversion. And it is on, I think, a 36 count blue wood smoke. My next WIP is called Ink Circles Growth Rings. This is what it'll look like when it's done. 56 count Zweigart cream color. And I'm using a Silken Colors silk for the darker purples and greens and blues, and a XJU Designs silk, variegated silk for the lighter. So pretty. This is also one that's fairly close. Fairly close to a finish, and I'd like to get this one done this year as well. Okay. My next WIP is a Mirabilia. It is called Fairy Flora. This is what it'll look like when it's done. And here it is now. It's upside down. Oops. 90-degree turn. So here it is now. I'm doing it with the called for threads, not the called for fabric, but something very close to it. It's called Barnwood, and it is 32 count. Doing this 2/2, except for her skin. Her skin is 1/1. Itty bitty little stitches on that 1/1. I'm not sure if I'll finish this one this year or not. I'm not a big fan of Mirabilias, at least the fairies, but I'm doing it in as a tribute to my Aunt Susie, which you've probably, if you're returning, you have heard of before. My next WIP is called Quaker Diamonds. This is what it'll look like when it's done. And I'm doing it on a 36 count bittersweet. Here it is now. This is also one I'd like to get done this year. I have the full set of Quaker like seasons that are this size, and I think they're just gorgeous. I am doing this with a Weeks Dye Works conversion, and I think it just looks gorgeous. And I just want to get it done and framed and up in my house. So that is where I am. It is 1/1 or 1/2, except for the little lowercase letters, which are 1/1. My next WIP is by Frogwood Manor. It is one of my 2 full coverage pieces. It's a very small full coverage piece because that's the only kind I do. I don't like really the big heids, which, you know, totally fine if you do. I want to finish things. I'm a process stitcher who wants to finish things, which is, I mean, I know everyone wants to finish things, but I don't know. I'm a hybrid between a process stitcher and a progress stitcher, I guess. It'll look like when it's done, and it is Prisoner of Azkaban. And this is where I am now. And it is on a 25 count easy grid, even weave. And it's actually going to be pretty small. It's only 3 pages. But I'm doing the mini version, or the small version, on Frogwood Manor's Etsy store. But you can see some of the Whomping Willow and the wall there, a little bit of Buckbeak's wing. It's coming along pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it, and it's gonna go in my Ravenclaw bathroom when I'm done with it. My next one is my other Mirabilia that I've got going on. I have 4 Mirabilia patterns, but I've only got 2 going right now. And this one is called Tree of Hope. And this is what it'll look like when it's done. And I'm doing it on a 32 count tarnished silver. But this is where I am. Excuse the needle. So right now I'm using the water, and I'm using all the called for threads and beads, but I liked the vintage tarnished silver better. You know, to each his own. But right now I'm doing the water lily silks for the top of the tree up here. So, and it's really pretty. And I think what I'm going to do with one of these ladies, because they're so pale, and, you know, I don't know. I'm not tan, but they're so pale. So I think I might do like one with like an olive skin, maybe one with a maybe a darker skin. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but they are so pale. So I'm going to look into some conversions. And I think the only thing I'm going to leave out is this bee. I'm not a big bug fan. So this bee and maybe this butterfly and these little things over here, I may just leave those out. I haven't decided yet, but it is beautiful. All of Mirabilia's stuff is beautiful. It's just some of them aren't really my aesthetic. My next piece is a stocking for my nephew. It is a small start because I wanted to not start anything in 2021, so I started it I don't know, a couple of days ago. Just a small start. It is on a 28 count royal Christmas blue linen. And this is what it'll look like when it's done. It is called Jolly Old Saint Nick, and it's by the Kooler Design Studio. And here is my pitiful little start. I have put in the last few letters of his name and just the top part, because as you can see it in the pattern up here, it shows that it's 2 different colors. So my pitiful little start, but you know, it's a gift. And I am going to finish these 2 stockings this year. I swear. Well, one for my nephew and one for my niece. And then I have one new niece who was born on my birthday, or just 6 minutes before my birthday, I think. And so I'm going to be making her a stocking. And then this family, my niece and nephew, have a little brother on the way. So I've got 4 stockings to finish. Yay! Oh, it's fun being the crafter in the family. It really is. Okay, I'm not, you know, I'm a little overwhelmed by it, but I'm really excited. I'm really excited to make these stockings for my niece and nephew. Plural, my nieces and nephews. And see them and just have them have something that is an heirloom that they can have for a long time. I still have the stocking that my Aunt Susie made, and my brother does too. And it's just a really cool, unique thing to have a homemade stocking. So I am perfectly happy to be a little bit overwhelmed. So the next WIP is my niece's stocking, Madeline, and I was going to try and finish it this year, but sadly I procrastinated. But I will finish it in 2021. That will be a goal. So let me... There it is. Okay. All right, so I'm doing it on a piece of 32 count Phoenix by Zweigart. This is what it'll look like when it's done. And here it is now. Didn't quite make it. Oh, man. But I have a plan for this year, and it will get done. So it doesn't all fit on screen, but this is where I am. And it's, you know, it's a full coverage piece, basically. The other stocking is not. So hopefully that means it'll go quicker. But she's worth it. She's a cute little girl. She'll be 6 this year, I believe. So... anyway, it's a pretty piece. I love it. Just a little overwhelming. All right, the next WIP that I and this isn't, these WIPs are in no particular order. I'm just grabbing them out of my off of my pile here. The next WIP I'm doing is on a piece of 56 count 56 count hand dyed. It's called Golden Honey by Barbara Creations. She is out of Hungary. This is Mermaid's Folly. Sorry, that last stocking was Father Christmas, and it is also a Kooler design studio. But this is Mermaid's Folly by Cortney Collections, and this is where I am. So I'd like to get a couple pages done this year. It's probably pretty I don't know the word. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so this is where I am this year. I am using a Silken Colors silk, 1 strand over 2 fabric threads. This is a 56 count, like I said before, and just gorgeous stitching. The Silken Colors is Asian Plum. And she's just gorgeous. And she's one of my favorite WIPs. And I really should get more of her done. But alas, I have too many WIPs. I think I've got like 25. Okay, my next WIP is... All right, my next WIP is on a piece of 40 count. I believe it's 40 count. Yeah. It's on 40 count cream linen that I got off of eBay. And it is Northern Expressions Twisted Band Sampler. This is what it'll look like when it's done, except I'm doing a color conversion of my own, and this is where it is now. I am doing the decorative stitch version, and the yellow pops out a little bit better off camera, but all of the colors are an XJU Designs color, like over dyed cottons or hand dyed silks. So really pretty. Really pretty. It'll be really pretty when it's done. Although this is on my back burner. It's not my favorite WIP to work on. The decorative stitches are fun and beautiful, but they take a long time. So you don't get like as much progress as you think you are with the amount of time. If that makes sense. Well, my next WIP is called Templar Prophecy by Long Dog Samplers. There's what it'll look like when it's done. This is where I am. This is my second restart. It is on a piece of 40 count, antique raven, I think, or 18th century raven. If you really want to know, ask me in the comments below. Sorry, I need to make like a project card. But I decided to start, because I restarted it. This is my second restart. I said that before. But I decided to start it in this tree area so that I wouldn't get bored. Because I did start it up here in this band the first 2 times. And it looked really good, but, you know, I didn't like the fabric anymore. I wanted it on a smaller count. So, anyway, I started here. And I have this church-like thing done, the dragonfly, and part of the tree done. Okay. My next WIP is a stitch along with Off the Grid Needle Arts, Caroline. And it's a pretty WIP. And I don't remember the hashtag for the stitch along, but this is what it'll look like when it's done. It is Thankful by Jeanette Douglas, and it's the Blooming Bouquet series. And I've done it on a 36 count blue wood smoke. Or smoke blue is what it's called. Smoke blue. And I'm doing it with the DMC conversion. And it was just a little baby start. I'm sure people have done it, finished it. I may not do the border. I'm not a big fan of the border. So we'll see. It is a pretty stitch along, and I like the sentiment that the little quote says. But she's got 5 or so patterns in the Blooming Bouquets series, and they're all beautiful. This one just had purple in it, so of course I had to get it. Anyway. All right, my next WIP was actually supposed to be for my mom. She has a restaurant, or she had a restaurant. It's going to be her welcome sign, but she has decided to close up shop and do something a little bit more home oriented instead of having all the overhead of the restaurant. But it is still a pretty piece, so I may just put it on my front door. All right, so this is it. It's the Corners and Curves by Rosewood Manor. Bonus chart in that. And it is on a pace of 28 count Jobelin. It's a greenish color. I forget the actual color. But I'm doing it with the DMC conversion. And it's pretty cute. I'd like to get this one done this year too. We'll see. I'd like to get them all done this year, but I doubt that because I love the BAPs. The big ass projects. Which is fun. And I also have quilt WIPs that I want to get done this year too. All right, the next one I'm going to do, or the next WIP I have is another full coverage, one of my other full coverages. And it is called Ravenclaw House. And it is in the description. Whoever the pattern designer is in the description box below. That's what it'll look like when it's done. Here it is now. I'm doing it 1/1 on a 25 count even weave, easy grid. And obviously we're up in this corner over here. And all of that blue background, woohoo! I'm using all the called for DMCs. So it'll be fun. That's probably really on my back burner because it's a big chart and it's full coverage, and I don't really enjoy full coverage. So I don't know. Maybe that's 2022. All right. The next one is called Permin of Copenhagen. It is I got it off of Etsy. This is what it'll look like when it's done. And this is where I am. So I started in this corner over here. I start randomly, wherever's easiest, wherever's pretty. So you don't necessarily always have to start in the middle. But I am using 40 count mallow is the fabric. And the floss I'm using is Weeks Dye Works Blackberry. So I thought these little things on the side kind of looked like a blackberry. I know they're supposed to be like flowers or something, but they looked like blackberries to me, and it matches my living room, this color. So I said, perfect. That's what we'll do. Do whatever you want. It's your project. All right, my next WIP is the new normal. This is what it'll look like when it's done. It is on a piece of 40 count. Yes, might be 56 count. I really should write this down, shouldn't I? I'm a floss tuber, right? I should know this by now. Things to improve on in 2020. I believe this is 40 count, and it is a chalkboard by XJU Designs. And I'm also using the variegated that I'm using in Growth Rings by XJU Designs as well in the motif. And I started over here in this little, the center is over here. So I started in the center left motif. And I like what Handwork Maniac Brenda does. She is doing everything except for the animals in a variegated, and then she's doing the animals in a different color. And I thought that was kind of neat. And so I may do that too, because this variegated came with a bunch of coordinating silks. So that's something I'm going to look into, but I haven't decided yet. And I like how it kind of is a bright spot in the dark, you know. So this 2020 was not the most light bringing year. And so I like that it's this variegation kind of makes a bright spot in the new normal. So I don't know, that's just me. That probably will not get finished this year either, but I am trying to finish it for the Long Dog Leap Year Stitch Along thing. I don't remember what it's called. Terrible. I'm a terrible I'm terrible at social media, so not a bad thing in my opinion. My next WIP is called Blackberry. It's something I bought off of Etsy. The designer is in the description box below. This is what it'll look like when it's done. And sorry about all of the hanging threads. I tried the parking method in this particular design, and I am trying to stitch in all the park threads because I'm not a big fan of the parking method, but that's okay. Excuse me. It is on a piece of 28 count Jobelin, lavender wood, I think. And it is 2/2. Very pretty. There are blends in this one. So, but I love blackberries, obviously. So it is also one I'd like to finish this year because I started it in 2019. So, and I'm not very far, obviously. So, but I got distracted by other things. And it's not a very big piece, and it's mostly not full coverage. The top third is full coverage, but mostly it is not full coverage. Okay. The next WIP is called Santa's Ride. Santa Rides. Santa Rides. Is by Prairie Schooler. I've done it on a 40 count Victorian motto Harvest. It was one of the fabric of the month. It's beautiful. It's very similar to what was shown on the called for. So I'm like, well, I don't need the called for then, right? I'm using mostly Weeks conversion and a couple of DMC for like the face, the skin. But I'm not a big Christmas stitcher. I'm a little ashamed to say that I don't really like decorating for Christmas because you only have it out for like 2 or 3 months if that, 2 or 3 months a year. And so I'm not really motivated to stitch these, but they're so cute. I love the like vintage feel, and I live in a 100-year-old house, so it would go with my decor really well. So I don't know. We'll see how motivated I am. The next WIP I have, we're almost done. Bear with me. The next WIP I have is called Quaker Seasons of Friendship. And here it is. This is what it'll look like when it's done. And this is where it is now. It's on a piece of hand-dyed linen, hand-dyed by Rolanda. She's on Etsy. And I just love, 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 love this fabric. I would just frame the fabric if I could. Well, I could, but it would be kind of boring. But I'm using a Silken Colors silk, and I'm doing it 1/2 on this beautiful 40 count. And I started in the fall seasons, which is over here. My next WIP is called Anne Grimshaw sampler. I'm doing it on a piece of 56 count Pearl Gray by Barbara Creations with a color in cotton, and I'm doing it 1/2. This is where I am, although don't let that be fooled. I have to rip that all out. This is the only thing that stays. I was being stingy with my fabric and counted all the way over and realized after doing all of this that I was too short. So my plan is to stitch a little and rip a little. Stitch a little, rip a little. But you'll get a good idea of what the colors look like. It is so gorgeous. I love this fabric and I love this color, and it's kind of like a brownie purple, and it just looks so pretty. And the color of the fabric is pretty true on camera. Okay. The next WIP I have is another BAP, because of course I have a small project. There it is. And it is Prairie Schooler alphabet. And this is kind of what it'll look like when it's done. These are all of it, but I'm doing it long ways on this piece of German banding. This is where I am. I started in the middle, and I'm doing it all horizontally. And this is 27 count German banding with a pyramid border. You can see that. Yeah. So it's got a finished edge, which is nice. So when I'm done with this, I basically just have to fold the ends over, put a loop through it, and a rod through it, and hang it over my windows is where it'll go, because, you know, who has that long of wall space other than over windows? Great. Okay. My favorite and oldest WIP is Thea Gouverneur, Lady and Unicorn is what it's called. This is what it'll look like when it's done. And it is a kit. Comes with 27 count Jobelin. And this is where I am now. And it doesn't all fit on screen because it's a big girl. But I'm using the kit fabric, the kit floss. And she is so pretty. I'd like to get her done this year too, but you know, as you can see, most of the bottom is a full coverage, and I've got 1 page done of 4. So that might be an ambitious goal. That's the word I was looking for a few hours ago, or it feels like a few hours ago. But you can see I've got the unicorn's hooves, a lot of her dress, her modified slightly face so she's less cross-eyed, her unicorny hair, and the flower background and part of the unicorn's horn. But this is my favorite WIP. This is why I'm cross-stitching. This is why I started cross-stitching. Oh, and you can see my back. I'm not super... I don't have a super clean back. But it doesn't look terrible. I try not to carry too much. All right, so that is all the WIPs that you've seen before, except for the stocking that I showed, Gabriel's stocking. Now, I do have a couple of new starts from the end of last month. And the first one is another Thea Gouverneur. And it is called Mother of God. And I am doing this, and it is actually a full coverage piece, but I decided I did not want to do it full coverage. So I found a piece of 36 count. I think it's called Prim Gray. And I'm going to just cut out, and I'm not going to stitch these faded parts of the painting that this artwork is. I'm just going to do the colored part. So this, all of this right in here is supposed to be stitched because it was the kit fabric was a Ada, and I'm not a big fan of stitching on Ada. So, you know, I didn't want to have a full coverage piece. I wanted to cut down on some of the stitching. So I just found a piece that kind of looked antique-y and something that could be recognizable as maybe a piece of faded canvas. And I'm just doing the colored parts. So it's really pretty. And I'm up in here right now, if that wasn't obvious. But it was also a kit. So I'm using the kit floss 1/2. All right, 2 more, and then we will get to the giveaway. All right, so my next new start of December was, there it is. This one is called Indianapolis, and there's some numbers in the title, but Indianapolis, and it's by Awesome Pattern, and you can find it on Etsy. I'm doing it on a piece of 32 count mystery linen with the called for DMC. You can't tell what that is. It's the Indy car over here. And this is for my dad for Christmas. Don't tell him. He doesn't watch my FlossTube channel, so it's fine. But it's similar. My brother got Washington, D.C., and my mom got Seattle, and my dad is getting Indianapolis, because that's where we live, and that's where he's been born and raised. My last one, my last new start for the whole year, because I'm going to try not to start anything. Here it is. It's called Pretty Little Tokyo. This is for me. I've never been to Tokyo, but I'd like to go some point because I really love Japanese culture and their Japanese artwork. This is where I am now. It is on a piece of 28 count Jobelin. Doing it 2/2 with the called for DMC. Although I'm going to, so this little bonsai tree right here in the center is blue, and I think that's weird. So I've heard of blue spruces, but they're like a blue-green. So I don't know. I'm going to change that blue tree to something else. But other than that, I'm doing the called for DMC. All right, so my plans, we kind of did as we went this for 2021. My plans are to finish several of these, or at least several of the pages. I'm not going to start anything. To help get me through the stockings and the gift for my dad for Christmas, I am going to do Family Fridays. So all my stitching on Fridays, because I have half days at work on Friday, so I have a really long stitching time. I'm going to do for all my family stuff. So Gabriel's stocking, Madeline's stocking, my dad's Indianapolis, and I'm making the Mother of God for my pastor, and she is kind of like family, so she's the Lord's family. So I'm going to include that as well to try and get that done quicker rather than later. Anyway, so the giveaway. So I said that I was going to do when I hit 250 subscribers. I have not quite hit that as of this taping, but it's a new year and it's better to give than receive, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to do a giveaway, and the giveaway is going to be one thing off of your wish list on 123 Stitch. So the way you enter the giveaway is we're going to put in the comments down below, I want the word goal. So, it's the new year and New Year's resolution, but resolution's too long. So if you want to enter the giveaway, please put the word goal down in the comments below. You can put just the word, or you can give me one of your goals for this year or whatever you want. And I will pull a winner next month, and that winner will send me their email address connected to their 123 Stitch account, and I will look for something on their wish list from 123 Stitch, and the thing they didn't get for Christmas they'll get from me. So that is my giveaway. Now, you must be 18 years or older to enter the giveaway. Please do not say the word giveaway in the comment or free or anything like that, because we don't want posers who just search for those words getting the free stuff. I actually want it to go to a stitcher, and preferably I'd like you to be a subscriber. I'm not going to disinclude. I'm not going to forbid subscribers, non-subscribers from joining. I just, prefer, it would help me out if you want to do more giveaways with me, if you subscribed as well. So I hope you enjoyed my kind of ruffled WIP parade and my haphazard goals. But I want to thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful year and get a lot of your goals done. So happy stitching. See ya.